Hi, everyone, and welcome to Building Hancock, Stories of Growth and Community, the podcast where we shine a light on the people, places, and projects shaping the future of Hancock County, Indiana. I'm your host, Dave Meeker, also known as the Cyber Concierge from Bringing Tech to You. Plus, I'm the founder of NewPalOpen4Biz. In this conversation, Shawn and I explore how technology, community engagement, and local businesses all come together to shape life in Hancock County. We'll talk about how residents and businesses can stay safe in an evolving digital world, and I'll share some reflections on what makes Hancock County a special place to live, work, and build lasting connections. Leading the conversation today is my co-host, Shawn P Neal. Shawn is the CEO of Avocast, a communications and PR consultancy specializing in podcasting and media solutions. So with that, I'll step back and hand it over to Shawn. Shawn, take it away.
And welcome aboard, Dave Meeker. Good to have you, my friend. How you doing?
Just fine.
Good. A lot of people don't know that we have history. We've been working together in a different capacity for a couple of years now, for several years. But I want to take just a minute and let everybody else get to know you and like what you do. So first of all, if you would just tell everybody who you are and what you do with Bringing Tech to You.
Sure. My name is Dave Meeker with Bringing Tech to You. I live in New Palestine, Indiana, which is just east of Indianapolis, for about 35 years. And my company is twofold, mainly cybersecurity, and the other part is NewPalOpen4Biz, which is a promotional sponsor-driven program to keep businesses open in the NewPal area to start with, regardless of what calamities may happen in the real world.
Very nice. So you're a cybersecurity concierge. Is that the right terminology?
Yes, and I have a cybersecurity and investigations network with about 17 different resources that I've spent 3.5 years building that can handle any kind of cyber or investigation and or security situation with former military people. When someone asks me, well, why do you still post on social media? I said, that's because that's how I get my cyber gigs and my healthcare consulting gigs. One person after COVID saw me still posting and just sent me a message on Messenger. Are you still doing consulting? And I said, well, yes. And the rest is history. But it's a way to tell a story, build trust, and to be recognizable as far as what you do. Many people don't have a cyber problem, or in a recent case, they thought someone was in their LinkedIn account when in fact, the Virginia location where they were logged in for LinkedIn was actually Comcast, their actual provider for internet services.
Oh, and it gets crazier from there.
Yes, it does.
One of the things I remember you telling me early on is the passwords. Remind everybody about password security.
Everyone has some kind of medical billing, and one of the biggest medical billers is Change Healthcare, and they were recently hacked. And the reason was their password was welcome with a capital W. Wasn't complex at all. You'd be surprised how many credentials, which means your username and password, are for sale on the dark web. Yes, it does exist. And it's always a good idea to have at least 20-character password. Have what's called two-factor authentication, where it goes to your phone with a code. Multi-factor authentication means you're using some kind of app or another method to verify it's you. And a multi-factor authentication app is like Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. You have to set it up with a QR code, and every 60 seconds, it has a 6-digit code that you copy and paste from the app. It's fairly secure, but then you put on top of that what's called a security key, and now a pass key, which is a 6-digit number that only you know, but you have to go through all these security steps first before you can use the pass key. And that's going to be the new norm. Instead of having to remember 400 passwords, it'll be one pass key that's been verified with a bunch of other security measures.
Yeah. And I can't say it enough. I mean, it seems like a pain in the butt to have to relog into something and go through a couple of different steps to get there. But when you're talking about identity theft, that's a way bigger pain in the butt.
And for businesses, so a young lady by the name of Shatrice, who is with the Department of Homeland Security right now. And she said 85% of the businesses that get hacked go out of business, not necessarily because of the hack or the financial problems, but all the legal problems that come in because of privacy. And if you're in healthcare, it's the Office for Civil Rights that you find out how many lawyers line up to have you be responsible at so many dollars per patient record. And that's what causes you to fold. It's better to be proactive than reactive. But if they're reactive and you're in that situation, I have resources that can help with that scenario. What I do is I'm the translator of translating things into what they actually need, whether they really have a problem or not, and more importantly, helping them get the help they need through trusted resources.
You're such a fascinating guy, because I always think of cybersecurity people. They're behind their computer type, and they're in the dark room and they're doing their cybersecurity thing. But you're like a really active member of the NewPal community. You're an active member of the business community there. Hancock County, you're an active participant in that community. And I think that the connecting point here that is really interesting for everybody is your connection to this podcast and NewPalOpen4Biz and what you're actually doing behind the scenes outside of the day job, the cybersecurity thing with NewPalOpen4Biz. So let's see if we can connect these. Was it 2019? Is that the right year? There was
Yes.
some things that happened with the bridge there, and you found a need that I think everybody felt, but maybe not everybody knew how to respond to.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that and what that actually led to, or how that led to NewPalOpen4Biz?
Sure. And in 2019, the bridge by Needlers on US 52 and Mount Comfort Road, and I say Needlers because they were kind of our anchor point for that whole project. And this was a state project, which means it was NDOT. County was sort of involved, but it was an NDOT project. And all their detour maps showed going 5 to 6 miles around what we call downtown New Palestine right on 52. And many business owners were panicking, saying, well, we rely on that traffic. Well, myself and another person came up with a plan and implemented it. And it was NewPalOpen4Biz and Shelley Beaver with Impressions. I'm going to give her a plug.
Essentially, when the bridge occurred, the bridge event, we'll call it an event, when this occurred, what was kind of the first step that you two did, or how did you launch this idea to the business community?
There were a couple people interested. Two of the three that were the first ones was Fry Water Conditioning, and then Rick Short Flooring. And then I told the other person that I was working with, which is Rob Walker at Walker IT, I said, hey, I just got Hancock Health to be the title sponsor. You did what? I said, oh yeah, Steve Long and I see eye to eye on the western part of the township and the county and where things are going from here. And he wants to make sure they have a vested interest and get the word out to people about road closures and that sort of thing, and businesses that are behind it. And then I said, hey, Rob, I got Needlers. How'd you do that? Oh, I called Michael Needler Jr. And then he referred me to his sister, who works for the PR firm at the time. And the rest is history. So, and there were some times where things fell off, but the biggest part is to the community is through this page, I'm able to let people know that, like last night, there were 4 parts of the road that were tore up. You couldn't go north or south. 4 homeowners were more or less stranded, but they really weren't, because there was a contractor there with a steel plate to put over the road where the road's missing, or put in drainage tile across, something they hadn't really thought out all the way, and you have to improvise. There wasn't any mass panic or people running around with their hair on fire like there was during the bridge. So it's just a matter of getting people to understand that we'll get through this. It's just, you have to plan ahead.
Yeah. And I think it all circles back to relationships. As you just said, you were able to pick up the phone, get a hold of Steve Long. You were able to get a hold of people who trusted you then, and they knew that if you were bringing this information, that you would bring it transparently, authentically, and in a way that I think what you just summed up the best was with a positive spin to it, which is, you know, we'll get through this. It may be inconvenient. It may, put us out a little bit, but we're a community that looks out for each other and we'll get through it. Is that fair?
I guess the way to sum it up is they'll take my call.
Yes. When the businesses look at the things that you're able to do, it's not just about putting a post out there. It's like you've got A, the influence, and B, the attitude that really brings people to their doors. And I love that. One thing that is important to me, and I think probably to the general population, is, okay, this is great for business, but how does it benefit me just living here in NewPal or Hancock County? Like what's in it for me?
Let's take the bridge that goes over the railroad tracks in NewPal. It's actually a wooden bridge. It's Bittner or 450 West. It had too many heavy trucks going over it, and they had to rebuild it. Everything went really well. They had CSX, which is the railroad inspector. They inspected the outside, but they had to inspect the inside. Well, they had troubles getting that inspector. It's been delayed. Well, that's pretty much we're still under the 45 days, I believe. And it's just getting the community to understand, okay, well, this bridge will be closed. You'll just have to go detour maybe quarter of a mile, half a mile around it. But eventually it will get fixed and fixed right. And it's more about just conveying that message that, hey, you don't even want to walk across the bridge when it's under construction, because one of the CSX railroad inspectors could literally raise a red flag and pause the whole project because someone's in the work zone. So that was a big message I put out there. Stay away from the work zone. It's going to get done. You don't want to be in there. It's dangerous, and there's people watching you.
Right. And again, this all comes back to relationships. If I can be so bold as to say that one of the things that really differentiates this Facebook page from all others is that I know you're getting sourced information. You're getting information straight from whoever the person is, and you're getting it delivered in the way that's important to them to have the public hear it. So it's kind of like you're this kind of informal PR conduit for all of these different organizations throughout the community. And that certainly benefits me as a NewPal resident, because now I know that when I hear it, if it's coming from you, if it's coming from the NewPalOpen4Biz page, then it's valid. Like I can trust it.
It's sponsor driven, but there's also people like Gary Poole from the Hancock County Highway Department. He says, Dave, there's one reason I like to use you, and one word only: truth.
There you go. And you and I have talked on many occasions about getting into the weeds of comments and things that can happen on social media. And I've always been impressed by your ability to go in and just cut the legs off of negativity. It doesn't belong here. We're not going to argue about it. We're not going to be combative. We're not going to talk down to each other. We're just not going to let it live in this space.
Right. This current project, which it's 2.5 miles of upgrade, total pavement replacement, utility upgrades, and a roundabout, and drainage is the biggest thing. Well, did you know that part of the new infrastructure they're putting down is new internet cable, new gas lines, a lot of new power lines, and 9-star internet, which is local, that previously no one was able to connect with. Well, eventually they'll make it available to the public, but they don't know that it's there. There's several other utilities that were put in. They were relocating them, and if someone's relocating, they're going to go, who else can we put in here that's going to drive revenue? So they're there. And it went all the way down to degrade, which means they tear everything up and then start over. And if you're ever out on a project and you hear this thing that sounds like a combination of a large vacuum cleaner and something that just vibrates the whole ground in your house, it's this compactor they have. Looks like a steamroller, but when it was in our driveway, our whole house rattled.
Nice. Well, I think I just discovered another thing that I love about this whole concept and what you do, and that is the fact that you're the liaison between all of the folks that are doing the good work there in the community and the general public.
Right.
That you're able to be just an everyday person who can put it in layman's terms for me so I can appreciate it and understand it and ultimately get through it if it's an inconvenience. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
With that being said, I want to take just a second because you have a unique perspective on the community and hearing all of the things that you hear. What would be like your vision of NewPalOpen4Biz and its function in the community over the next 5 years?
It will evolve into a expanded community where facelifts will probably be given on Main Street, but there'll also be some empty land that'll be changed into potentially an amphitheater, some housing of some kind, allegedly, but more importantly, things that's built for walking community to get entertainment, food, that sort of thing, because we found that with New Palestine Main Street, at 11 East Main Street, is the address, that we call it the Musicon Depot internally, because it's separate from the one that's in Greenfield, but it attracted, and it's local acts. We had it about once, 3 times during the summer, 4 times during the summer, separate from Summerfest. And there was maybe a couple hundred people initially. Well, now there's a large plot of land. I would say it varies from 500 to 600 people would be my guess. But people like to come out, put down their lawn chair or wherever and congregate, talk with their friends. And there's adult refreshments for those that care to have it. During Summerfest, there's draft beer and bottled wine. And then during the rest of the year, it's all canned. But again, it's a place to build community, have conversations with friends you haven't seen for a while. And people come with other friends, and there's little groups. I wouldn't call them cliques. I'd call them more little cultures, but they're friendly.
And harmless.
And harmless.
That's great. I think that people should really check out what you're doing if they haven't already. One final thing I want to touch on here is you had mentioned this NewPalOpen4Biz kind of logo or what being available to businesses. And I love this kind of stamp of approval, because you're someone, again, who is known throughout the community. You have made those relationships. What is your goal and vision for that logo to become when someone sees it on the window or the door of a business?
That they're part of a movement to step forward and say, we want to keep New Pal, whatever it turns out to be the friendly small town feel place that it is. We know that things are going to expand. It's beyond our control, and we're going to make the best of it. And we invite you to come on in and check us out. Maybe you don't want solar salt with red out. Maybe you want to go down the street to Be Lively and get some honey at 50 West Main Street, or some of their honeycomb, or you want to go to New Pal Smoke and Barrel Barbecue. It all depends what you want and do. And it's just a sign of, it's kind of like we're open for business, which is the whole feel behind this, how this started. They're open for business. They want you to come in and find out that if you're on well water, you need to use this kind of softener salt. If you're on city water, you need to use this kind of softener salt. It's all about connecting with people that can help your life go better.
Yeah. And anybody who's,
even if you have a pool,
I would say anybody who's paying attention can hear you dropping, these little plugs for different businesses throughout this whole interview. I mean, you are such a community advocate, just
thank you,
by who you are by nature. And I think more people need to know that and appreciate that.
And I invite people to check out episode 1, which is Julie Lucas from New Palestine Main Street.
Yes.
Because that's the future of New Pal, I believe.
They've got so much going on there, and that interview with her was fascinating. So, Dave, thank you so much again for everything you do, for bringing the NewPalOpen4Biz brand to life, and really giving people some hope, especially during the time of COVID. That was very important to the community to have that, and the business community to be able to lean into. So, thank you.
You're welcome. At NewPalOpen4Biz, we're all about creating a team of local businesses to help secure and promote one of the key gateways into Hancock County, our hometown of New Palestine, Indiana. Whether it's road construction updates, business growth, or community events, we've got you covered. And if you're a business owner in the New Palestine or Hancock County area and you want to be part of what we're building, just reach out by clicking on the link found in the show notes.